Hi, Derek here from the Galway Camera Shop. We have Michael O'Sullivan with us from Michael O'Sullivan Photography. He's a Canon user, and Canon use him as a lecturer and trainer. So he's going to run through some of the Canon cameras with us, starting off with some of the lower end models for the entry level user and going all the way up to the pro users. So we'll get Michael to go through a few of the models here with us and just give a brief rundown on the specs and stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Derek. What do we have?
We have the 750D here with the 1855 lens.
Okay.
We have 7D Mark II.
II.
We have the 6D Mark II.
And the 5D
and
Mark
we have the 5D Mark IV.
Full spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay. So, alright. I'll probably start, like you said, with the 750, right?
Yeah.
I guess, in terms of specs, right? All these cameras are pretty high spec. I mean, they've all got very high resolution nowadays.
Yeah.
They've got Canon's autofocus systems, varying degrees of complexity and different amounts of focusing points. So the differences between, say, this one, as you go up the range to, say, the 5D Mark IV, you'd have, you know, more focus points, faster spec, you know, a little bit more functionality that would be useful as you get more advanced, or if you're relying, say, on your photography to do a job. There are things built into the 5D Mark IV that other people wouldn't find useful.
Yeah.
Or wouldn't have any much need for. But the 750D is a fantastic all-round camera.
Yep.
I've tested it on a number of occasions, and it's, you know, I've always found it to be really accurate. And from a person who normally uses 1 series or 5 series cameras,
Yeah.
the fact that it's so much smaller and lighter makes it a really cool travel camera.
Yeah.
You know. But the idea is, who's this for? If somebody has been shooting with their smartphones or with compact cameras or maybe some of the bridge cameras, and they want to move up to the flexibility that an SLR, a DSLR type camera can give you, this is an amazing camera to start with. There are lower ones in the range, but I think this one pretty much would cover anybody who wanted to get started.
Just a good all-round one.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, yeah.
It's got what we call a crop sensor sensor as well. It's an APS-C sensor. It's a cropped sensor camera, which means there's a whole range of lenses that are optimized to work on that. They're the EFS type lenses, etc. But you know, it also means you can get that extra reach rather than spending big bucks on a long lens, for example. So for a beginner, an all-rounder, it's really good. Great camera. Does excellent video as well. Has really cool Wi-Fi functionality, which we won't go through, but you can control it from your smartphone and all that kind of crap with the Canon Camera Connect app. It's really cool. And then at the other end of the scale though, right? So just to compare the two, like you've got two types of camera here. You've got the full frame cameras. So the sensor is the same size as the old negatives on 35mm film, you know? And on these ones, it's the same size as what we used to call APS-C type film. So they're APS-C type sensors. So that was the APS film were smaller. So they're smaller sensors.
Remember it well.
For 90% of people, because the range of lenses available, the crop sensors give you all the flexibility in the world. But the difference then is, if you really rely, say, for image quality, you're making huge prints and selling landscape prints at ginormous sizes, the extra edge in terms of quality, they're all excellent quality, but the extra edge you get from the full frame sensors.
Excellent.
So again, this one for the beginner, as you want to step up the range then, you've got a number of options.
Yeah.
Some people, they realize, having shot with a lot of this kind of stuff, that they want to do maybe a lot of wildlife or sports. And you know, there is the 1DX and the 1DX Mark II, but that's a big investment.
Exactly.
So people who make their living out of it would consider that a lot more. But you have an option here in the Canon 7D Mark II.
Yeah.
This is a big upgrade from the 7D Mark I. It's a fantastic camera, but one of the main things about it is the resolution is so high that if you use, you know, and with the crop factor on it, if you use a 200mm lens, the extra reach you get, which gets you out to, what is it, 1.6 times that, 320? 320, is it? Yeah.
About that, yeah.
You get amazing detail without having to crop your images from, say, if you were using a 5 series or 1 series camera, which would be full frame. But the idea is, anybody who wants to get closer and shoot, this is still, like, I mean, it's a high frame rate. If you need 14 frames a second, absolutely is your job. Then the 1DX is like the step up from this in performance. But in terms of, it's a fast camera, it shoots 10 frames per second, high resolution, incredible reach, and great image quality. Amazing autofocus compared to the older models, so it's extremely accurate and reliable as well. So for somebody who wants to specialize more, there's a good option for that.
Perfect for the people that are into the sports and the wildlife.
Exactly. You've been shooting with your 750 or your 1300D for ages, and you realize you're doing a lot of like birds in the garden, or you know, birds on the beach. Exactly. You know, but you're shooting using a lot of like action or telephoto type photography. This is an amazing camera to get you more deep into that.
Excellent.
And then if you do want to look at full frame, like I said, there are these other options. Now, obviously, this to me, the 5D Mark IV, I'm going to be honest about it, this is without a doubt, it's the best all-round general purpose camera on the market. Okay? To a first timer, to a person who hasn't used SLRs that much and hasn't really pushed themselves technically yet, they're not going to get much, and I'll be honest here, they'll not get much more benefit over having something like this. But as you get more, when you start to outrun your camera, and when you start to outgrow the camera, and you start to you're trying to achieve shots faster than your camera can do them, and whatever, it's then that something like this comes in, But the image quality is spectacular. It's fast, snappy. The autofocus is incredible. So that's why it's the go-to camera for a lot of press and wedding and portrait and even journalist photographers, because it's no slouch either. This is a really good happy medium. I've used this on occasion. There were times when I was caught out on the way back from time off on the road, and the golden rule, have your camera in the boot. Didn't have the camera in the boot. I had to borrow a 6D Mark II a couple of times. Phenomenal performer. Less autofocus points than the 5D Mark IV or even than this, but it's still got an autofocus that's familiar to somebody who'd say has used the 80D cameras, which you've got one there, I think. If you're used to using something like the 80D cameras, or the older 7D, it's got a similar autofocus and it performs really well. But again, you don't have as many points to, if you really want to get specific about specific areas in the frame, you're picking your focus point. You don't have as many as that, but that doesn't, that's a happy medium.
Exactly.
It's a nice happy medium. So yeah, for a person who's kind of outgrown everything, this to me is like the next camera that I'm going to add to a second one actually, is one of these. Right? This, like I said, is a really, really good step up into full frame photography for anybody who's already been using one of the others and they know what they want to shoot. If you don't know what you want to shoot, you really want to just get into photography and get the flexibility of an SLR, this is a fantastic one to start with. So I hope that helps.
Hopefully no. So,
okay,
thanks very
much.
much.